It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Wednesday, August 27th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that's looking ahead to Flyers rookie camp.
Can't wait.
Your Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. I've been podcasting about the Flyers, the NHL, and hockey for a decade. I'm here with prospect expert and Flyers credentialed reporter for 20 years, Russ Cohen. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner, so visit the FanDuel app today. Start planning your futures bets now. To keep up with our latest episodes and Flyers news, you can find us at Locked On Flyers on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter. And of course, here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are going to get to your mailbag questions and comments later in today's show. But we have got rookie camp on the brain. It's a couple weeks away at this time. We do not have a list yet or a schedule, but it's never too early to talk about rookie camp and kind of get in the mindset of, what is it going to look like this year? Because it's a whole new coaching staff, a new system. So there's a lot going on around that, and especially around the Phantoms. They also recently signed another defenseman to have on their roster, Carter Berger, who was in Hartford most recently. So we won't see him at rookie camp, obviously, but certainly part of the Flyer system. Also make note, because they did release their promotional calendar, which was my nemesis of the week on Monday, that I want the Flyers promotional calendar. We have the Phantoms one, and I always mark my calendar for the teddy bear toss. It is Saturday, December 20th versus Hartford. So looking forward to that, as we do every year.
Yeah, that's fun. That's always fun. So I'm assuming the Flyers didn't do a Zamboni gravy boat, or you would have said.
Oh, man, that was such a good idea. Such a good idea. Getting that whole kitchen set together.
Yeah.
It's like locked into my brain now as something I want and need. So Flyers, make us some kitchen appliances and utensils.
Yeah, let's go
on it. All right, rookie camp. So as I mentioned, we have obviously a new head coach in Rick Tocchet. We talked a little bit about his systems on the Monday show. And I'm just curious with this rookie camp, like what the coaching structure is going to look like here, because we know that the head coach doesn't really run things or generally sit behind the bench for the rookie series or anything like that, but always has a watchful eye on the goings on. We used to obviously see Torts up on the balcony in Voorhees. I believe the new rink will be ready to go for rookie camp. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
we will see. So the perch should be back and active for the coach and management, and Danny Breer and Keith Jones and all that. But in terms of who's going to run this camp, from a coaching perspective, and what we'll see from the other assistant coaches, the Phantoms coaches, and the player development crew this time around.
Yeah, I'm sure Riley will be, number one in charge. And I think he should be. I think for continuity's sake and everything else, I think that's a big thing. Todd Reardon, he'll certainly, he has NHL coaching experience already anyhow, a lot of it. So not necessarily as much as a head coach as an assistant, but he's still tremendous on defense. So that's, he's going to have his hand in it. There'll be a bunch of people that will do that. And I think it'll be good for the young players and it'll also help, some of the newer coaches kind of acclimate to at least see some of these guys that they have. I think that's a big thing too. So they know, they'll know pretty early in those other games if there's guys that they'll think about calling up.
Yeah, I think so. And that's where like Nick Schultz, I think, will have
Yes.
a big role because now he's an official Phantoms
Right.
assistant coach.
And he's seen these guys forever. He's been around.
Exactly. So I do expect him to have a big role
Yes.
at rookie camp this year, along with John Snowden, who
Yes.
will be around and active. I
Oh, for
don't
sure.
know how much he's going to run things on the ice versus be more of an observer, at least to start off with. Maybe
Right.
he'll run the bench at one of the rookie games.
Maybe.
We'll see what's going on there. But yeah, I am very curious to see what kind of role the new Flyers assistant coaches will have there. You mentioned Todd Reardon. Will Yaroslav Svakovsky have any presence there, especially because ostensibly he's supposed to help our power play?
Right. I think they all will
Rookies
because
acclimated, right?
right. I think they all will because now that they're going to actually have continuity between the AHL and NHL
Mm-hmm.
team, I think there's going to be like a introduction period, like, hey, this is what we're looking for, and a little bit of instruction. I don't think it'll be anything too heavy because they know those guys are all going to be playing in Lehigh, most of them to start the season. But still, you want to be able to touch them where John would never touch them. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And you want to be able to touch them in case there is an opportunity for one of these guys to make
Just
it,
like be aware of their level, where they're at, what
and
their
and them to know what
things
you're
they need
like
to work
wanting
on.
to look for. Don't make it a guessing game until they come up, So yeah, I think that's important.
And I think the continuity of some of that player development staff is going to be especially helpful along those lines. You mentioned Riley Armstrong. I'm guessing like Patrick Sharp, Sam Moran, Chris Stewart, maybe John LeClaire will be there as well. I know like some of them might be already off doing their travels and their visits to the other prospects that are in college or playing elsewhere, but I think it's important in this particular year to have some of that continuity, especially, like I said, Nick Schultz will
Yep. Nick
absolutely
will
be
be
able to
really
provide,
important.
right?
Yeah, Nick will be really important because he's been around. I'm sure he knows a lot of these players. He's seen them, and now he could really instruct them even more. And that's a big deal. I think that's something where that's really valuable. Anytime you have people with former NHL experience, this is something that really could help the young players.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, just in terms of what the tone will be, again, this is a whole different ball game with the Rick Tocchet administration versus, what we had with John Tortorella. And I know like the Torts atmosphere didn't really kick in as much until main camp, with the
Correct.
bag skate and all of that. But I do think that the tone is going to be like serious, but progress driven, if that makes any sense, in
Yeah, I think
terms
it'll
of
be serious
identifying.
learning. I think it'll be serious learning. I think it will be like, hey, this is a puck possession offense now. We're going to, activate defensemen in this particular spot. We want high percentage shots. All those things we talked about on that last show. I think all of that will be made really clear. And, early on in camp before these games, they'll probably have a couple of days or, a few, 2 or 3. They'll go over some of these things. And that's, these games are like the final exam.
Right. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how quickly guys absorb the new system and what it looks like in practice, because that's going to be our first look at it, from a Flyers organizational perspective, and to see if these younger guys can execute on it, pretty quickly is going to be important.
Yeah, I think both teams are going to want to see guys do certain things. I don't think the winning is as important. I think the fans would like to see their team win. Don't get me wrong, but I think they want to see certain things out of certain players, and they're going to give them like marching orders, and they're going to find out if they live up to it. And I think that's the biggest thing. And then there's the goaltending, which eventually we'll get into.
Right. I think, as far as the rookie series goes and those games that they're playing against the Rangers kids, I'm very curious to see what the strategy will be for those rosters. And, will anybody play 2 games in the series, or are they really going to do a split? And what's the strategy around that split going to be in terms of, guys that could actually potentially make the roster versus everybody else? Or like, what are they going to do here?
Yeah, I didn't go last year, but I remember before that, a lot of times they would have the second game be a little bit more impactful as far as who's and more advanced, who's got a better chance to make it and everything else. But doesn't mean they're going to do that every time. They could split it right down the middle and just give everybody the same opportunity and just see who grabs hold of it. Like we had mentioned on previous show, if Jett Luchanko plays, well, I mean, the coaches may say, hey, kid, if you really want to make the Flyers roster, show up in this game. They might not say it exactly like that, but, nicely worded. And, it could be things like that being said. And if that's the case, then he might play both games simply because they really want him like ready to go by the time Flyers camp starts. And, so for some of them, I imagine some of them, the real good ones, might play 2 games.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, you mentioned goaltending. That is what we are going to talk about first in the next segment, where we dig into some of the individual player expectations, and we will do that coming up next. Most people can't even name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's your 401k, properties, investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop and on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives like all of us. And if you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. It does all the heavy lifting. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and you finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. No matter how much I love them. Monarch helps you notice an inefficient investment allocation, discover forgotten savings accounts, 401ks from past jobs. You can save even more and turn it around and invest. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. So go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. That's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find that link in the show notes. Thanks for your feedback. And we will be back, of course, on Friday with our poll results on Flyers prospects at rookie camp and who you think could be the surprise standout. We gave you the options of Jett Luchanko, Spencer Gill, Denver Barkey, and Ethan Sampson. This is assuming all 4 of them are participants in the camp. Again, we don't know for sure, but we're going to talk about all of those guys as part of this segment. And we are going to start with the goaltending, though, first, because that is one aspect of this Flyers rookie camp that's going to be a little lacking because Carson Bjarnason's it. Like, there's 2 rookie games. Normally, you'd have at least 2, if not 3 or 4 goaltenders participating in it. And, we saw that at development camp that, it's really tough to run a young, prospect camp when you have one solid goaltending.
Yeah, I mean, even aside from camp, we thought they would definitely draft a goalie in this past draft, and they didn't. And this is where it shows up. Like, yeah, Zavragin's great, but he's overseas. You still need somebody else in the system. That's not enough. They don't have enough goalies in the system currently. This is a failing right now, and it's something that they have to make up. And so for this, would they have Waylon Esch and Ryan Cameron come back? Maybe. If they're not signed anywhere, they probably play. Otherwise, These 2 guys are playing the whole games, both games, which never happens, right? You never, and the other guy being Kolosov, and he has to play. Like if I'm the Flyers, I'm telling him,
Yeah.
you have to be here and be prepared to play 2 games. And if you're not, don't expect to play much this year. And that's exactly the way, if I were Danny, I would word it. Because if they all of a sudden he comes up short, then they don't even have 2 goalies, technically.
Right. Right. It just like Kolosov feels like he's almost beyond rookie camp status, but
But
given the
he's not.
situation, he's not. Yeah, you're right. Like he's not, and he should have to show up to rookie camp if he wants
Yeah.
any shot at playing in the NHL.
Yeah.
And I think being under contract the way he is, that's where Danny Briere has the upper hand here. I
He
think
does.
you have a fair point, and so that is going to be a whole layer of drama for sure.
Well, because I'm pretty sure the Flyers know what kind of backlash there would be from the fans if Kolosov's not there. But like, if he's not there, it's going to get talked about. It's going to get tweeted about, and then Danny's going to have to like give comments about it, which he's probably not going to want to. But I don't think he'll have a choice at that point. So, he needs to do the right thing as far as Kolosov goes. Kolosov does need to show up. And he hasn't played enough games to not be in this game.
Right. Now, as far as, other guys that potentially could have aged out of rookie camp, like I think Emil Andre, like we're good.
Yeah.
Show up at main camp, right?
Right.
And I feel like that should be the case with Adam Ginning as well, but you never know.
You never know if
with
they need
this stuff.
somebody. It's possible he would play, but most likely he's aged out.
Yeah, I think the same is the case for Helge Grans, but again,
I don't know. I mean,
we'll
Grans,
see.
they might say, hey, listen, we understand you're on the older end of this. Be a leader in this. Let's see what you got. I mean, I could see, Grans, because, Grans is already in, probably over. I don't know if Ginning is. And so that may be a thing too, where, so I understand why both may age out, but I could see one or both playing still.
Well, and that's where I see Samu Tuomala. Like he has so much like of a mountain to climb here that like it would behoove him to be at rookie camp. I just don't know if there's like a place for him anymore.
I know he's probably aged out. Even though he might need it as a springboard, he's aged out, I think.
Yeah. All right. So as far as who the top guys at rookie camp will be, I mean, Jett Luchanko's at the top of that list for sure, right?
Yeah, it's not even a question. He's number one. This is the last time he'll do it.
Right. And I think he has the most pressure on him at this camp because I think, last year was kind of in a lot of ways a get out of jail free card because he had all the opportunity in the world and like I would say medium expectations. There were some people who were like, oh, he could make the team. And most people were like, maybe he shouldn't. Right. So I think this year the line, it's a little fuzzier this time.
It's fuzzier because of the way he would have to go back and play. And if he's playing for Guelph, probably nobody in the organization wants him to really play for Guelph. So then you have that conundrum. So then you might hold on to him until World Juniors and then try and get him traded for after. Who knows? Or he just plays. I don't think he's ready. But this would go a long way in showing if he wants to show he's ready is to really dominate in these games.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Alex Bump is under similar pressure. I think given his strong start out of the gate when he joined the Phantoms, but then it kind of tapered off, and especially in the playoffs, we know and he knows he learned a lot from that experience. What did he learn and how will it present itself in this camp?
Yeah, the good thing is he's a pretty level-headed kid. So, like, if he didn't make the team at a camp, he would not be crushed. Like, he understands where he is and what he's about, and he talked about that last in dev camp and everything else. So, these are things, or last camp, he's used to this. So, I understand that, fans think he's automatically going to make the team, but, he has to do well in these games and in camp.
There has to be the right kind of spot.
And in preseason, and there has to be the right spot. So there are a lot of other factors for sure.
Right. And I think, as far as our London boys go, Oliver Bonk and Denver Barkey, it's pretty clear that they are going to be Phantoms to start the season, but I still think they have some amount of pressure to at least show out and, match up with and be, amongst the best at this camp.
If you believe in the pressure of high draft picks, fine. I think the Flyers do it the right way in the sense that once you're picked, they don't really show favoritism. It's kind of like you're all the same fish in the same pond, and they do a good job with that. There are other teams that definitely show favoritism to certain players. I don't think they've done that. So I don't think any of them feel entitled or anything like that. And so I do feel like you'll see their best. And look, is there a 1 millionth chance that like Bonk makes the team? Sure. If there were a couple of injuries in camp, could he start the season until somebody's healthy? Yeah, maybe. But nobody's expecting either of these guys to make it.
Yeah, but I still think that pressure is there, given
they're going to want to perform
more for Bonk than Barkey. I think
yes.
Barkey, there's been some unfortunate timing relative to injuries and past Flyers camps that, to be honest, we haven't seen as much of him as we have of some of these other guys at Flyers camps. And so I think this is a big opportunity for him to be like, oh, I am good. Like I am as advertised, right?
It is. I mean, the Flyers fan base is going to be watching, and, I'm sure he's going to want to do his best because this is like a really good reintroduction for him.
Yeah. And then kind of the other wild card, I think, is Carson Dewar, because I think that, he was a rookie this past year a little bit, but this is his true rookie season upcoming. And he does have an opportunity to make the roster here. I think, it's not guaranteed, but there's an expectation that he's going to compete for it. And so he does have to stand out at rookie camp.
He does. He needs to be a leader. He's, mentally a little probably ahead of some of these guys, physically for sure. And yes, they will look at him that way. I'm sure he believes he's competing for a roster spot, and he should, because there's definitely some opportunity there. It's not like it's wide open or the spot is his, but if he were to do great, it could be his.
Yeah, I think so. But very exciting times ahead for Flyers rookie camp. When the list comes out, when the schedule comes out, we'll dig into it a little bit more, especially that goaltending conversation, because boy, that is going to be a whole thing.
Flyers and goaltending. Who knew we'd be talking about that still?
All right. We are going to get into the mailbag with your comments and questions and reactions to our Sanheim conversation, the Flyers Hall of Fame discussion, and more coming up next.
The NFL season's almost here, and FanDuel's making sure you're ready for kickoff with the can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. I'm going to still go with the Baltimore Ravens. I feel pretty good about them. To win the Super Bowl. Are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
So we talked last week about Travis Sanheim and, what his role is and like what expectations are. We dug into the nitty gritty on him. And Chris Flynn, we've got a lot of Chris's in our comments.
I'm we do.
Try and be very specific about which commenter here. But so Chris Flynn commented, Sanheim is what he is, unrealized potential. He showed flashes of being an offensive catalyst, but that's all. He was paid to be a top pair defenseman, but he's not. He doesn't run either power play, and he's a defensive liability who doesn't use his size around the net. Now, I kind of disagree with this. Like, he was not paid to be a top pairing defenseman.
No, not initially.
The Flyers. No, I think he's paid to be a second pairing defenseman on any NHL team, including the Flyers.
Yeah, he's not making $10 million, so that's fair.
Right. And I don't think there was ever a huge expectation that he would be a power play specialist at all. They've tried him at it because there was literally nobody else to do it.
Right.
But I don't think anybody had any grand expectations about him as a power play specialist.
I think because when things were failing, there was a hope that maybe he could be that guy. I think that's what it was. And he's not.
That's true.
He could play a little power play too if you're down in the dumps. Like, there's no other way to put it. But he could.
Right. Now, the part of Chris's comment here saying he should have a booming slapper at his size and doesn't, maybe?
Yeah, that's fair, but it's not everybody's forte. but that's fair. I mean, a lot of guys haven't improved enough on their shooting. We've talked about that, so I get it.
Yeah, I do think that, the overarching sentiment of unrealized potential, there's some of that there.
There's definitely still some of that.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that because of the need to have him be a top pairing and number one defenseman when that's not what he is and not what
Right.
he should ever have had to be, that's changed his game a lot.
It has. I mean, he's
and
taken on a lot of responsibility, and I think he's filled the role admirably.
I agree with that. So we agree with you, Chris, to some degree, but not on all
On a
of
few
it.
points, we don't.
Yeah. Now, we talked a lot about the Flyers Hall of Fame and retired numbers and all of that. And there was like quite a bit of
I'm
comments
sure.
about that. So Matthew commented, if Sergei Fedorov is the measuring stick for a ceremony conversation, the Flyers simply don't have any players worthy of recognition.
It's fair.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned Claude Giroux, and that was it as far
That's
as a
it.
jersey retirement.
Right.
Once he retires, and
Yeah.
I still think that's going to happen, but there's nobody else currently.
No, there's nobody else in that even close.
Yeah. Now, as far as the Flyers Hall of Fame, which is like a completely different conversation, I think, it's more about guys who contributed a lot on the ice, but just also embodied the Flyers in a lot of ways, and you think about them as key Flyers, right?
Yeah.
And so, Mark Recchi, who already had his honors, is the most recent addition. Andrew Fawcett commented, Simone Gagne and Pelle Eklund are my picks for the Flyers Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think they're both good picks. I could see them both. I think Gagne before Eklund. That's just the way I feel talent-wise, but I think both are worthy.
Yeah, I think so too. Pelle Eklund is an interesting option, like that we did not discuss on that, but definitely I think changed a lot of things for the Flyers and Flyers fans. And I always talked about with Pelle Eklund's game that he was the kind of first Flyer, especially as one of the earlier European imports to the team, kind of changed the team from an East-West team to a North-South team in a lot of ways in that era. And that's not nothing,
No. I mean, and he definitely had an impact, a big one.
He did. He just changed in terms of adding speed to the team and a lot more skill.
Even if you watched other teams, you knew who he was.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Christopher Kelly commented something kind of interesting. Instead of retiring player numbers, put a banner up with that number and add any names on it who are worthy of being on the banner who had that number.
I mean, it's not a bad move because there are plenty of organizations that have had guys with multiple numbers and they end up retiring like the newest guy and not the older guy. And yeah, I kind of like that.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's really interesting. Instead of having like a Flyers Hall of Fame by year, have it by number. Right. And then put all like the non-players on their own separate banner. I think that's kind of fun, actually.
It is.
Brian Landis commented that number 48 was absolutely fine to wear. And, we agree, but it's certainly just like a statement for a current player to use it. We're not saying never use it. We're just saying for a current player to pick that number. That is a statement to be made. Francis Sizzo commented, Russ, good nemesis this week. You have the NHL, you're in Milan, as well as all the top NHL executives. At this point, you would think they'd put out pictures of the rink.
Yeah, I mean, I even searched after, and there's like very little on the internet about it. All it says is it'll probably get finished and it'll be tested in December. Tested in December for a February tournament. That's a little tight for me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just nervous. I'm really nervous about these Olympics and what the ice is going to be like. That's the thing. Is like it's dicey. Like temperature control for like NHL players and ice.
Yes,
I mean, it is a big deal, and we know what happens when the ice is bad and the way the players complain.
Or if somebody
about
from
it,
the Sixers leaves the temperature gauge up.
Yeah. Oh my God. What a disaster. Anyway, Joe McCloskey commented to wrap up our mailbag, not to change the subject. That's okay, Joe. That's what the mailbag's for you
Yep,
to ask
for
what
everything.
you want to ask. What do you guys think about possibly signing Jack Roslovic? The longer he sits out there, the cheaper he may be.
I don't know if that's true about the cheaper he may be. I think the Leafs secretly have given him a wink and he's waiting.
Yeah.
But he also has failed in a lot of places. He failed with the Rangers. Towards the end in Columbus wasn't good. I know he had 22 goals last year, but he's also a defensive liability to some degree. I don't think he's the right guy to bring in. I know people look at the 22 goals and see him out there, but I wouldn't do it. It's not that he's a bad player. I just don't think a guy like Rick Tocchet would enjoy him.
Yeah, I think so. I think that is fair. But yeah, I think the Leafs do have like the inside
Me too.
scoop on this, and that's where he'll end up. And he could already be there by the time you listen to this episode. But that will do it for today's show. Thanks so much for listening. We will be back on Friday to talk more about the rookies with your poll results on the Flyers prospects at rookie camp. Make sure you let us know your answer and your thoughts. The link to that poll is in the show notes. And as a reminder, we always want to hear from you. You can send in those mailbag questions or Flyers thoughts to any of our socials at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com or comment on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology on the same socials, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your next listen, check out the Locked On NHL podcast. There's no off season. It brings you the daily league-wide stories that matter most with local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, everyone.